Hello, everybody, and thank you very much for joining me today. It's Allan Laboucan with the Rocks and Stocks News Show. This past couple of days, there hasn't been as much news for my in the news shows, so I've been able to change it up a little bit. Yesterday, I only talked about one companies, and they had impressive news out. And today, I'm going to do the same thing. In this case, it's a company called Galantas Gold. Galantas is a sponsor of my shows. I'm very happy to have them. They help me to be able to provide the reports that I do, and I've done a lot of research on the company and several interviews with Mario Stefano, who's the CEO of the company. And you can find those on my YouTube channel at Rocks and Stocks News, or also on my Substack at rocksandstocks.substack.com. So I'm going to share the screen here. And as I do that, I wanted to start a little bit about gold, why I'm so bullish on gold. I really think that it's a coiled spring that's just waiting to be released. And some of the key reasons for that is, there's a currency war going on right now with the BRICS nations that are about to, it's speculated they're about to announce a competitor to the US dollar for world reserve currency and for international trade. Now, it'll be a long time before they displace the US dollar as that from that position, but the fact that these countries want an alternative, and I think the big alternative is going to be for international trade. And I think that they want to do more work or more trade in their domestic currencies, as well as with a BRIC dollar, if you will. And I believe gold is going to play a big role in that. Therefore, I think it's going to be very bullish for gold. All of these BRICS nations have been buying a lot of gold for many years. 2022 was a big year, and 2023 looks to be even bigger. Other factors are that the Federal Reserve has, been very aggressive in their interest rate hiking, which is supportive of the US dollar strength. But that, I think, is coming to an end. They're breaking things. They've caused a banking crisis that I don't think is. I think it's far from over. There's a lot of companies or banks that own those distressed and troublesome assets that caused some banks to go under in March. And I think that, that there's many reasons for the Fed to stop raising interest rates. One of them is that the country is in a death spiral of debt, and as the interest rates go up, it makes it harder for them to roll over into much higher interest rates. And so there's a lot of reasons to be bullish on gold. Now, let's get into Galantas Gold in particular. As you can see, they're exploring and mining Irish gold. And in my career of doing reports since 2005, I only ever recommended or featured one company as a pick, which was in Ireland, which was Dalradian. I started talking about them at 25 cents. And they ultimately were bought out at several multiples of that. And the companies that had bought them out have continued to expand on that resource. And it looks like it could be over a 10 million ounce gold deposit. Now, I'm very bullish on what Galantas Gold has in Ireland. And I'm going to switch over to their news section for a moment. And up here, they talk about Galantas announces resource upgrade at the Omago project in Northern Ireland. Before I get into that, I want to go back to this June 14th news release. And what this talked about is that this QME Mining Services is looking at contract mining for the Omago project. And this company is very experienced in mining in Europe. And as Mario said here, we are thrilled that QME is progressing our mine plan. QME's extensive mining experience across Europe, including its notable involvement in the development and bulk sampling of Dalradian's nearby gold project located just 20 kilometers from Oma, positions them as an ideal partner for this endeavor. Furthermore, QME's commitment to success of the Oma project is exemplified by its significant shareholding of a little over 3.1 million shares in Galantas. We look forward to providing further information on our mine strategy next month, end quote. So then I'm going to fast forward to today's news. And in today's news, they announced that Galantas upgrades the resource at the Oma Gold project in Northern Ireland. They talk about highlights of the 2023 MRE included strike and depth continuity of modeled veins in the Kearney and Joshua vein system. The minimal resources are the most robust estimate of the Kearney and Joshua veins, demonstrating reasonable prospects for eventual economic extraction. 53% of mineral resources are reported and measured in indicated categories. So this is really important for when you want to, do that contract mining that the company is talking about. Total contained gold ounces have increased by 77% from the previous 2014 estimate. Deposit remains open along strike and to depth, with down dip drilling planned on the Joshua vein under permitted development following a meeting of the Fermanagh and Oma District Council. Mario Stefano, who stated, and I quote, "This resource update is the culmination of a tremendous effort by our team at Oma. The drill results from our most extensive exploration project since 2014 resource estimate have increased our confidence in the high grades at the Oma project, further confirming its potential, particularly at the Joshua vein, which we are keen to explore." They talk about the size of the resource and the grades. You're looking at 6-7 grams of gold right near surface, and there's a bunch of underground workings that will help them access this material that you can see modeled there. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to there was a previous news release that I think some people might have missed, which was last week, and they announced that Galantas Gold intercepted 17.9 meters at 2.87% copper, 0.66 grams per ton of gold, at 0.46% zinc, and 0.03% cobalt at the Gairloch project in Scotland. They acquired this a few months ago and have already acquired it because it had excellent indications of the potential for volcanogenic massive sulfides. And then they went and drilled it and got this thick intersection of very high grade. And so there you can see the sulfides in the core. Very nice specimen there. Also sulfides in the side of the hill here, and they give you an overview of that project, and so it's an excellent project. And now what I want to do is I want to switch over to their presentation, and this will allow me to give you a little more insight into what really stands out to me. So there's their page one, their cautionary statement. You can find this on their website. Here's an overview of the Oma project. They talk about where they're listed. They own and operate that Oma project. High-grade resources that have now been upgraded. Sustainable mine planning. 2 stoping zones have been opened, each with 2 stopes currently mined and backfilled. mineral processing details, the historical resource that has now been updated. Here's their mine development underway, and this contract mining company will help in a great significantly. Here's I think it's the Kearney and the Joshua. I get them mixed up sometimes. They talk about the underground mine development. Okay, so here's some important stuff. Caledonian and Appalachian Belt. So this is an orogenic gold system. In orogenic gold systems, what's important is that you have these deep crustal cracks in the earth that enable the fluids that carry the high-grade gold to make their way up from towards the surface. Now, in a lot of these orogenic gold systems, especially at the top of the system, you're going to find that the grade gets better as you go deeper. And what's important about how I'm going to show you a slide later about that, but let's stick to these deep cracks part of the story. So as you can see here, here's a big fault, goes through Dalradian's Omaha project, as well as the Dalradian and the Omaha project. So you've got that deep structural crack in the earth. That's really important for these orogenic gold systems. And this same crack extends over into Canada, into Newfoundland, where there's a lot of excitement over the Queensway project that is being developed by Newfound Gold. So you've got these deep cracks in the earth that are your conduits for those metals-bearing fluids to make their way up. So then you look at the region, and here is Dalradian's Kieran with that big fault structure coming through here. And then relatively right beside it is the Galantas Gold project. Alrighty. So then they talk about multiple targets, and this is what is really important to me. As you can see, here is the Kearney vein, here's the Joshua vein, here's the Kestrel vein, here's the Kerr vein, and Sammy's is over here, and Elkins is over here. So what you find here is a very tight packing in very close proximity or to a series of orogenic gold zones or veins, if you will. And why this is important is that these, when they're tightly packed like that, it's an indication that they are, associated with each other, and they have the potential to be connected at depth. But what I also find really important here is that big structure. And so you've got this fault, and here you've got all this tightly packed high-grade gold veins or zones, and in close proximity to that structure. And I think that as you get deeper, they're going to start to find that these probably come together, and they are probably coming off of this structure. Okay, and geophysics support potential of the exploration targets. As you can see here, the geophysics are picking up you can see the deposits here, and then you can see some of the geophysics that pick that up very nicely and suggests that it's wide open. And then there again is that fault. This looks like an interesting geophysical target as well. So then we go to here, targets relative to the main Kearney and Joshua veins. So as you can see, there's more secondary faulting coming off of the main fault, and that's really important for mineralization as well. And then you've got this tightly packed group of veins here in the right package of rocks, and they've got more of those targets as well. This gives you the Kearney vein, and it's open to keep going much deeper, which is exactly what you want to see in these orogenic gold systems. They talk about the district scale potential. Underground mapping revealed dilation zones. Okay, now why dilation zones are so important is this is where the rock will, in these systems, will open up and allow the fluids to build up, pooling of more of those gold-bearing zones. So this is really important from a mining perspective, but it's also really important for a exploration potential or exploration purposes, because if you follow the trend of those dilation zones, it starts to give you an indication of where you should be going deeper. And so these dilation zones are very important for both mining and for exploration. And they've got a series of those dilation zones at the Kearney and Joshua vein, where most of the drilling has been done. But again, that's pretty exciting for the down dip or down plunge potential of these deposits. Look, here's some drill results that you can see from ongoing drilling: 22 grams, 14 grams, 69 grams, 31 grams, 106 grams, lots of high grade in the system, which is exactly what you want to see in these orogenic gold veins. And as you can see, here's a series of them. And here's the Kearney vein with the dilation zones. And as you can see, the dilation zones are pointing to where they should be going deeper. Very encouraging stuff. Same with Joshua, a good series of the dilation zones that are how they pick up the high grade and also pick up directions to follow it deeper. Then they talk about their Gerlach project. Now, this was before they came out with those drilling results. And they called it a high potential district featuring a gold-bearing volcanogenic massive sulfide deposit in Scotland. And in a lot of cases where you get VMS systems that are rich with gold, they're also quite rich with copper. And that's what those drill results exhibited. Here you can see some of the historical core with the nice sulfides in them, and some more massive sulfides over here. So that they're talking about the host rocks at Gerlach appear to be geologically similar to those in the Trans-Hudson Orogen in Manitoba and Saskatchewan, which contain the prolific Flin Flon and Snow Lake VMS mining camps. So they're seeing some geological similarities, and then in the core, the historical core, and then in the recently reported drill core. So I'm going to stop share here, and just to summarize, they've got two great projects now. One is for orogenic gold in Ireland, has all the right geological characteristics to find an important orogenic gold system. Why these are so important is you can look at places like the Fosterville mine in Australia, when Kirkland Lake got into the Swan Zone, where it was deeper than the historical mining. They hit spectacular grades. They were one of the lowest cost producers in the business, and one of the lowest cost or highest margins. And this made them one of the best performing gold stocks, and ultimately led to them getting bought out. Red Lake in Ontario is very important as well. And they were mining in that area for many decades, and then ultimately got deeper into these orogenic gold systems, which was a similar story at Fosterville, and a similar story of what we're seeing at Omaha. There's that near surface production, and then when they get deeper into these orogenic gold systems, they find that bonanza grade gold, and with just tremendously high grade and low costs of mining, and they're vertically zoned. Sort of at the top, you're going to find your fine grain gold. Then as you get deeper and closer to the heat engine, you get into the higher grade and more coarse, and then coarse gold and the spectacular grades. They haven't got that deep into the system yet. Most of their work is in the first 200 meters, let's say. And but OMA is a great project for the orogenic gold, and it's got characteristics that I see that are similar to what you saw in Red Lake and also in Fosterville. Then they got this emerging VMS system in Scotland that's quite exciting, where they're hitting high grades over thick intersections. We need a lot more good copper projects out there, especially copper gold rich VMS systems, and that looks exactly like what they have at in Scotland. And you know, a lot of European countries didn't see a lot of exploration and development for many years, but I think that some of the geopolitical things that are happening now are making more countries aware that, you know, these critical metals that they need should not be outsourced to other countries far, far away. And that's why they're opening up. And as they're opening up, someone like a Galantas was quick on the draw, and they got this great project that had seen historical work, but not a lot of modern exploration techniques. And now they've applied those and started to hit some really nice looking massive sulfides. So Galantas has a good combination of projects for both extreme high grade gold in an orogenic gold system at Omagh, and very high grades in a copper gold rich VMS in Scotland. And they're doing a bunch of drilling now. So stay tuned for more results. As always, my shows are for information purposes only. I'm not making buying or selling recommendations. That's up to you and your investment advisors to review if any of the companies, including the one I talked about today on the show, or meet your risk profile. I also advise you to do your homework. A great place to do that homework is you can start with some of the interviews that I've done with Mario Stefano, and that's what I try to do, is be a sort of help you in your due diligence on the companies that are featured in my reports. In the case of sponsors, they do pay me a fee, and that enables me to do all the you know, the hard work of following these companies very closely and reporting on them in a regular basis. And but the companies that sponsor me, they don't get to do any editing. They don't get to tell me my schedule. This is all independent work by me that is generated for my audience. On that note, have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.